For most of this course, we've implicitly assumed that the goods we are dealing with satisfy two properties. The first is that they're excludable, which simply means that the firms that produce them can exclude people who don't pay for them from consuming those goods. And we've usually assumed that goods are rivalrous. That is to say, if I consume the good, you can't consume the same good. If we have a restaurant that provides sandwiches, for example, I can consume the sandwich, but you can't consume that same sandwich. Goods like this we call private goods, and we typically think of them as being provided in markets. But goods could also be non-rivalrous, by which we mean they could be the kinds of goods that more than one person can consume at the same time. In a movie theater, for example, I can sit in the theater and watch the movie by myself, or I can watch it with other people in the theater as well. The fact that other people might be present in the theater doesn't take appreciably away from my consumption of the movie. So many of us can watch the same movie at the same time. But it's still excludable. The movie theater can keep people out who didn't pay for the ticket to get into the movie theater. Goods like that we often call club goods. Sometimes they're provided by clubs. For example, you might have a club that provides a local pool, and only members of the club can enjoy the pool. So they're excludable. You can keep non-members out. But among the members of the pool, multiple members can enjoy the pool at the same time. Or we could even think of a local government providing a good that can only be enjoyed from within that community. So a city might put up fireworks for July 4th and know that only residents within that community or people who are physically within the community can see those fireworks. People in other cities can't see them. So that kind of good isn't fully excludable, but it's somewhat excludable in the sense that you actually have to be physically present in the community. We call those goods sometimes local public goods. But goods might also be non-excludable. They might be the kinds of goods where we can't exclude people who don't pay from consuming those goods. I might go into the ocean, for example, and catch fish. Those fish are rivalrous. I can consume the fish, or you can consume the fish. We can't both consume the same fish. But if they're in the ocean and there's no way to keep me from fishing the ocean, they're non-excludable, and they're called common goods. We've dealt somewhat with these kinds of goods when we talked about the tragedy of the commons, that when goods are commonly available, like fish in the ocean, we tend to overuse them, we tend to overharvest them, and not fully account for the cost of taking those resources out of the commons. Finally, there are goods that are non-excludable and non-rivalrous. Those goods we call public goods. So if someone provides for a national defense system for a country, for example, then I'm protected by that system, as are you. And there's no way to exclude me from enjoying the protection of that system if I don't pay for it. Similarly, we can both enjoy them. In fact, many people can enjoy them. So they're non-rivalrous. It's a non-rivalrous good, the protection from the national defense system. So that would be an example of a pure public good. And we often look to governments to provide those public goods. Now, if we think about the difference between private goods and public goods, and what level of provision is efficient, we can go back to what we know about private goods. In private goods, in competitive markets, these goods are provided where demand intersects supply. Supply is just the marginal costs of the firms, and demand is the marginal benefits that the consumers receive. And if there are no externalities, markets provide those goods efficiently at the equilibrium price. That means that the last person to consume that good, the person who consumed the very last good that's being sold, had a marginal benefit, so that subscript I indicates it was one person, the last person to consume the good, that's equal to the marginal cost. So the efficient level of provision of private goods is where the last consumer has a benefit that's equal to the marginal cost of providing that good. That's what made that efficient. Now, if we think about the same condition for public goods, we have to modify it, because more than one person can enjoy a non-rivalrous good. So the marginal cost of providing the good efficiently should be equal to not just the marginal benefit of the last person or one person that consumes the good, but the sum of all the marginal benefits of all the consumers who get to consume that non-rivalrous good. So now we have a different efficiency condition for these kinds of goods. The marginal cost of providing those goods should be equal to the sum of the marginal benefits rather than just the marginal benefit of the last person who consumed the good. Because here, that person was the only one who could consume the good, but here, many people can consume the same good.